So here we are. We're going to do the giveaway for the sketch that we did a couple weeks ago as a thank you for all you subscribers. So real quickly, we're on YouTube Random Comment Picker. Let's go ahead and pick a winner. Now, remember I said that that you needed to comment, you needed to be a subscriber, and you needed to leave an email address for me to be able to get in touch with you. So let's go ahead. All right, and so here we go. Here is the winner, Susie G. Thank you very much. I will be getting in touch with you, but thank you all very much who participated. And now on to the show. Hey fellow art tubers. Well, Inktober's almost over, and this is only my second ink sketch. But what are you going to do? You know, you give it the amount of time that you can. This is the paper I'm using today, the Kilimanjaro. This is the fountain pen. It's a FPR Himalaya with a flex nib, and I just love drawing with it. I've got 3 different ones. I'm not sponsored by them in any way. I just love the pens. They've got a wonderful flexible tip that you hardly find nowadays. Not so flexible as they used to be way back when, but great for drawing and getting different line weights. This is the ink, my Platinum Carbon Black, and here's a little look at what the nib can do. Nothing too fancy. But at the same time, if I want a real thick, heavy line, I can get that by just pressing harder. About halfway through, I'm going to go to this. It gives me a fine line, very waterproof, and I can move much faster with it. And that's what I like to use whenever I don't have to have a flexible line, thick and thins. So let me show you the reference that I'm working from. This is a Texas live oak that I came across when I was down in Texas, and I thought it was deliciously creepy. I'm using this just as a general idea. I thought that this would make a wonderful, scary tree at night in order to put a raven in it and be moonlit from behind. So I'm just kind of using this to put the branches so that they're somewhat believable, but I will move these branches around to make them work better for what I have in my head. That's the great thing about when you're drawing trees, especially, you can have them do whatever you want to. One of my earliest remembrances as a kid was reading Tolkien, and I can still remember how influential the Brothers Hildebrand painting of Old Man Willow was, and where they just put a face on him and turned him into a real sentient being with personality. Of course, he was just a tree, and not a very nice tree at that, but man, you can do that with trees, and that's one of the things that I love about them. And that's one of the reasons why I never get tired of drawing them. Okay, so I'm being pretty loose here. I'm not doing a real tight job. All this is going to be erased afterwards, and you can see the upper area of the sketch. I put in the raven, and so now the sketch is done. Everything's just about where I need it and all the information, and so I want to kind of start in a spot where it's not going to be too horrible if I screw up, and to kind of get my feet back under me. It's been a little while since I've done any ink drawing. No reason to hurry, and I thought I'd kind of give you a real-time view. I'm kind of tentative here as I'm starting out. I just want to take my time, no reason to hurry. When I was younger, I would go much faster. I'm not exactly sure why. I just felt like I needed to kind of keep things moving. I find I do a whole lot better if I just kind of slow down, take my time, and think about where I want to put my next line, because it really doesn't matter how fast you work, just that you're accurate and you're putting down lines, not just willy-nilly, but there's a reason for every line that you put down. Whoa, I'm drawing fast now. If only I could actually draw this fast, that would be great. Just hit the fast button. I'm going to go ahead and state a little bit of the obvious here, and that's be real careful when you're drawing trees that you make sure that they get thinner as they go up. Too often it's very easy to make your branches or not pay much attention to that and make them thicker than they should be as they go up. And make them of different sizes, don't make them all the same. Trees are very individual, just like people, and so if you can bring some of that out, it's going to produce a much better drawing. I have this part going a little bit faster because basically what I'm doing here is just outlining. I'm not doing a solid line, even though it kind of looks like I am. I do give breaks here and there, but I just want to have a holding line for where everything is going to go. So basically I'm just giving myself a map as to where I want everything, and then later on I'll be filling in. I think I should mention that this particular video is going to be mostly just the drawing of this, the ink part for Inktober. But you'll see at the end where I've done watercolor over the top of it and then gone in and done a little bit of Photoshop work over the top of that. I'll talk about, what I did with that, but if there's interest in seeing the actual watercolor and then the Photoshop work that I do over the top, just let me know. And I have recorded it. I do have it on video, so if it's something you guys are interested in seeing, I can do a part 2 of this. But for now, I'll just let you watch the drawing and listen to the music, and I'll talk to you a little bit later. Just break in for a moment. You'll see when I'm drawing this that I'm actually thinking about what direction I want this description of the leaves to be. I am not just going in and blindly adding things. I'm actually trying to figure out which way this bush is growing and make sure that I try and describe it in the direction that I draw my lines. So the whole time you're doing this, you're thinking about describing what it is that you're drawing and how to best portray that with pen and ink. I haven't realized yet that that big branch that I just put in was too small. So you'll see I'm going to go back in and make it more of the size that it should be eventually. Right about here, I decided to go ahead and use a slip sheet underneath my drawing. And again, I'm starting on an area that's kind of out of the way, not all that terribly important, until I get my feet under me with drawing the dimension on this tree. Don't want to overdo it, but try and start in a spot that's not terribly important. And once you feel like you're okay, then you can go back in and do the other areas that maybe will be seen a little bit more. Now I've slowed this down again to real time to show you that kind of what I'm doing is I'm drawing my lines. They're small lines, but I'm drawing them to describe the shape, which is this cylinder. Sometimes I'll draw them across the cylinder. Sometimes I'll draw them so that they're going with the cylinder. But I'm always thinking about how I can change it up, because it can get really boring if you just do that same line over and over and over again. So you want to give your eye a little bit of a visual break. I also will tend to work this drawing all over, so it's not just coming together in one place. I'm bringing it up all together, all over the place. I just find that it has a more cohesive look when I do it that way, rather than trying to finish it in one spot and move all the way across the paper. And with practice, you'll find what works best for you. And so much of this is really just showing up and giving it a try, not worrying about whether or not it's going to work the very first time, or the second time, or the 8th time. You just have to keep going at it and learn from every time you make an attempt. Eventually, you're going to have all that information. You're going to know what works for you and what doesn't. And you'll be able to do this inking or pencil drawing or painting without worrying too much about whether or not it's going to work, because you've got a lot of information at the tips of your fingers from your experience. Another tip I think I can give you is, and this probably goes back to my illustration days, but usually on my table I will have some kind of reference, something that I can refer to that's going to help me to remember what the style is that I'm going for, what that look is. Not always, but it never hurts to have a wide variety of different trees, let's say, for something like this, or some books or examples of really nice pen and ink drawing. And if you do that, the purpose isn't to copy what you're seeing, but just to kind of understand what the visual flavor is that you're going for. Eventually you'll not need that, I suppose, but going back to my days illustrating, I just find that it's a habit that I really enjoy, I don't get out of, and I never feel like I have too much reference in front of me. When it comes to drawing the anatomy of trees, if you're a book person like I am, I have a couple of good ones that are still available through Dover. These were published a long time ago, but the illustrations are very good. The first one is by Rex Viket Cole, called The Artistic Anatomy of Trees. It's published by Dover, as a lot of the good old books are. It was originally published in London in 1915, but it's been republished many times. You know, even though there's a lot of text and it can be kind of dense and hard to get through, it's really a good book, and I'd recommend it. It's a pretty good size one, and the great thing about Dover is their books are not all that expensive. The second one is by Frank M. Rines, R-I-N-E-S, called How to Draw Trees. This one, I think this one was published a little later. Let me just take a look here on the flap. This one was originally published in 1936. Mostly this is pencil drawings, but he's got a lot of good examples of how trees are structured so that you understand them. Different species of trees are put together differently, and the more you know that, the better off you're going to be. But now, let's get back to the creepy music. We're coming to the end of this one. Here is what it looked like. I always planned on going over the top with watercolor, but this particular video was just about the drawing. But here's what it looks like after I applied the watercolors, added a skull to the base of the tree. Then I took it into Photoshop, added a light effect and some mist. This is how it looked in the finished digital version. So if you guys are interested in that, let me know. I can go ahead and post that in a separate video. Well, as always, thanks for tuning in. If you liked the video, go ahead and hit that like button. Thank you for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead. No time like the present. And as always, I wish you pleasant dreams.